Welcome to another episode of KinCasts, where we explore the joys of connecting with loved ones through private podcasts. I'm your host, David Beckmeyer, and I want to help you capture the magic of your family stories.
First of all, David, I'm thankful for having me.
Yeah, thanks for making the time to come on.
Yeah. So again, I'm Jana Brody, and I am a Santa Barbara Arts Commissioner. I'm an artist. I am a nonprofit administrator. I work for foundations, and I'm a painter. And I recently found myself as an author. So to go back to talk, we mentioned the book. My mother got hit by a foul ball at Dodger Stadium in 2018 and died from this 4 days later. So I'm able to say this with a straight face and not, be sad about it, because I've shared this story many times. When it happened, it was a fluke. 1 in 40,000, this foul ball came streaming up above the net and found my mom in the temple or cheek area, and she got rushed to the hospital with brain trauma and never recovered. So it was, like I said, at the moment it was tragic, it was shocking, and then we proceeded to get her buried and all that, and that's all documented in the book, which was traumatic in itself. Being a Jewish family, we usually bury people right away, as fast as you can, and start the mourning process. But because it was blunt head trauma, LA County makes you go to the coroner. We were in like I call it funeral limbo. We didn't know how long it was going to take. There was a line of people at the coroner to rule out foul play, but David, in this case, it literally was foul play. It was a ball hitting your head. Finally, it all worked out. And then, began to run into people. And my mom wasn't sick. So, I said, oh, my mom died recently. And they're like, wait, what happened? And she got hit by a foul ball and died. And their mouth would just fall open. What are you saying? And their first reaction was, oh my God, I'm sorry. And then the second reaction, what did Dodgers do? What became of it? And I said, hey, nothing. Why isn't it in the news? Why didn't the Dodgers announce this? Why didn't we get approached? So the more I told my story, the same reaction I kept getting from different people. So then I decided I started Googling, and I found an article by this amazing guy, turns out to be my mentor, Willie Weinbaum of ESPN. And he wrote an article saying, isn't this great that we extended the nets in 2018 through the dugout, and only has been one death since 1970. And I read this article, I'm like, this is the same year, 2018, they extended the nets to the dugout, but that wasn't far enough. So I wrote him quickly back and I said, how do I get that statistic changed? My mother died in August, and that's, not 70 years ago or whatever. So he was like, wait, what? And he wrote me back. And so a grieving daughter became an advocate for fan safety. So he broke the story, and that was in February of 2019. And then the floodgates broke open, and I was telling my story to many, many journalists, and I was in the New York Times and the Washington Post and everything. So I wasn't really having time to grieve at that moment. I was having time to advocate and say, hey, the netting needs to go all the way to the foul poles, and it needs to go up higher. My mom was behind first, so it needed to go higher. And then, so 2020 was COVID and all that, and someone approached me and said, this is a book. I'm like, it is? And they're like, yeah. So then I said, okay. And that was my COVID project. I was able to, go through it and talk about her as a person and a bubby and a mother and a, person in the world. And that her death was not in vain, something good. So long story short, after all of this, the press and the journalists were now aware of the injuries and the dangers and the stuff. So then they start catching the injuries on camera, and little children were getting hurt in different ballparks. And one time, one player fell to his knees. He literally saw the ball hit the kid, and he couldn't, So then it became too awkward for MLB not to raise the nets. It took, catching it on camera and all. An old lady dying at 79, it wasn't enough, or a 14-year-old boy in 1970. But catching it on camera, then they finally made a mandate. Okay, now we're going to raise and extend the net. So that was the ultimate for me. They finally listened, and things, again, me using my voice, something good came of it. And they did mandate that. And today, MLB, the big ballparks are extended their nets all the way to the foul poles. And now the minor league is another story. Spring training is another story. We're still working on that. But I feel like something good came of this. And, again, my mom's, legacy is something, she didn't die in vain, per se.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's so so that was quite a few years that you put into that, but that's pretty cool that you got some support there and were able to do that. I mean, it seems like that's an easy thing for people to kind of keep pushing you aside. Hey, lady, we don't need your help.
Yeah. Well, I'm not alone. There are a lot of the people that have been hit are advocates. There's a man I mentioned in the book, another guy that he's just like this guy in New York who's irate that people continue to be getting hit when it's such a fixable, preventable, thing. His, mine is, a soft story about a grieving daughter, what happened. He's more like this irate New Yorker. How can this be happening? It's disgusting, so there are a lot of people that are, help me rally and get the word out and make bigger noise than just me, The title of my book is Sit Behind the Nets. So even if people don't read it, they just hear the title, that's my message. Don't stop going to the games, support your favorite players. But, now everything's on the internet. You could select your ticket and pick a seat behind the net and just make sure you and your family are safe. That's like my message out there.
And you have a website too as well, right?
Sure. My website's just my name, janabrody.com. And the book is on Sit Behind the Nets is on Amazon. You could just order it through Amazon.com or through my website. And it's short and fun. People say, how can it be fun? But the first chapter too, my kids couldn't even finish it because the first chapter is the sad part. I would get through that, and then it's whimsical, and I tell stories, and I talk about all the other kind of miraculous, mysterious things that are surrounding it. And people will say, oh, it reminds me of my grandma, or, thank you for writing. It reminds me of this or that. And then other people write me and say, hey, I got hit by a ball too. And we were at a college game and got hit. I was at a minor league game and got hit. And there's just a lot of people out there who can identify with, this story. And I'm proud about the book. It was my COVID project. I just went for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, you did something that a lot of people either talk about doing or maybe start but never finish. So, I mean, that's quite an accomplishment.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Jana, for making time for our little show here. And thanks for sharing that story.
I appreciate it, David. I appreciate it. And again, just got to keep the fan safety message going. Sit behind the nets.
Sit Behind the Nets. Great book. Title and also good advice.
Thank you.
All right, Jana, take care.
Bye.
Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of KinCast. I hope you've been inspired to capture the magic of your family stories and share them through the power of private podcasts. For more resources and inspiration, visit kincasts.com. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider leaving a review and subscribing wherever you listen to your podcasts. Until next time, remember, every story matters and your family's story deserves to be heard. Take care and happy storytelling.